May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Gook Audio mini podcast. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic hardship, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So this is another outtake from Zen is Right Now, teaching stories and anecdotes of Shunryu Suzuki. No, it's more teaching stories and anecdotes of Shunryu Suzuki, which also means it's an outtake from Zen is Right Here, teaching stories and anecdotes of Shunryu Suzuki, right? So, oh yeah, this one's from Alan Winter. And he was working at Tassajara before we bought it. In fact, Ed Brown went there to visit Alan, and then that's how Ed stayed and, was washing dishes, and then they needed him as a cook, and he learned to make bread from these guys there's this whole tradition of making bread that evolved into Tassajara bread. Okay. This happened soon after the Zen Center bought Tassajara and the former owner's staff was still there. Suzuki Roshi came to have a meal with the crew. Jim Cook, the bartender, had prepared for him a so-called Zen macrobiotic meal with brown rice and vegetables and placed it before him. Suzuki Roshi gave a disgusted look, pushed the bowl aside, and reached over to a plate of hamburgers. With a greedy look on his face, he latched onto one and took a big bite out of it. I thought Jim would pass out. I saw this as one of Suzuki Roshi's spontaneous lessons. Yeah, I mean, that sort of thing happened to Suzuki now and then. Especially in around this time. This is like February of '67 or something. Oh, I don't know. I started living there like March. I don't think they were still there. Maybe late March. Anyway, well, no, there were staff from there. I don't think Jim Cook was there anymore. He went back to Esalen, I think, or Big Sur. Anyway, the Suzuki would want brown rice. Actually, he did eat brown rice with us all the time, and he praised it. But, Bob Beck, and maybe Bob Beck was there because he told a similar story in which Suzuki said, I like Hamburger. Bob Halpern had the same experience in L.A. when he was living with Maizumi, and Suzuki came. Maizumi and Suzuki and Bob and maybe Maizumi's wife. I think her name was Charlene back then, early wife. And she was a Nichiren priest. Anyway, Suzuki sat with them. Oh, that's it. And Bob only took, rice and vegetables. And, Maizumi had meat on the table or something. So Suzuki said, you're, just eating vegetables. Are you vegetarian or something like that? And Bob said, well, sometimes I eat meat. And Suzuki said, sometimes I eat rice. But Anyway, it was just, people assumed that he'd be vegetarian. And we were vegetarian at Tassajara. But, most Japanese priests will eat meat or fish or whatever if it's served to them. And actually, most of them eat it in their own temples, if they're like a home temple. And the training monasteries, they eat it too, if lay people give it to them. If it's a donation to the monastery. We don't do that at Tassajara. And, back then, Zen macrobiotics was a big deal. There was a book, Zen Macrobiotics. A lot of people in this sort of hippie, pre-New Age subculture thought that that's the way Zen monks ate, because there was that book and had very ideal ideas about it. I mean, Buddha ate meat if it was put in his bowl, but anyway, on the other side of this is Suzuki wouldn't deny macrobiotics. He didn't like food trips, and he didn't like food extremism, but he'd say, well, there's some overlap, He wouldn't approve or disapprove of it. And it had a great influence on our diet, It was sort of between the macrobiotic people wanted everything cooked, and then there were the raw foods people, there were the salad potato people, and a compromise came about. Thanks a lot, Alan Winter. And thanks for going down early and learning a lot of stuff about it, because Alan helped Ed in the kitchen. You could just as easily say Ed helped Alan in the kitchen. And they brought the transmission of the really good food that was being served at Tassajara to guests. When the Becks owned it, they were tight with Sunset Magazine, and they were had a little more French in it, but they were definitely into California New Cuisine, and the Tassajara food and greens is sort of the high end gourmet end of it. And Tassajara was the sort of the lower end brown rice, gruel. But, we had salads, we had, vegetables, we had tofu and tempeh, we had cheese, we had dairy products. And it was great. I loved the food there. I loved the student food. In fact, in the summer, I liked the student food better than the guest food. And I worked with the guests. Okay. This has been a Cuke Audio mini podcast. I'm DC Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from sleepy Sanur with Doggett Bandita, Feline Cuchita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.